All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the business planning workshop. Thanks for everybody that came in person, and thanks for everybody online. So today's going to be a working session. This is not one of those seminars you're going to come to and just sit there and listen and kick back. It was like, I actually want you to participate. So I love business planning. It's one of my favorite events of the year. I know a lot of people are cringing and giving me dirty looks now in the audience, but if you don't plan, you're going to fail. And I hate to say that. It's like, as most people know, I'm a Tom Ferry coach. I'm also certified through Buffini. I've been through a lot of coaching programs, and I've been doing this for a very long time. And I love the saying that a lot of times the problem isn't with anybody around you. It's actually the person sitting in your chair. And it's like, and I'm very coachable. That's been me in the past too, and I think that we can all improve. So, I invite you to really participate in this program. It's like, we're all here to help you. I'm here to help you. All the education folks are here to help you. All of the brokers and the staff, we're all here to help you make this a very successful career. And it doesn't matter if the interest rates are 18% or 2% or 7%. It doesn't matter if the house prices are $1 million or 200,000. There's still going to be people that are buying and selling homes. So go get between some of them. And so I guess with that said, let's get started. So what I'd love to say is, are you ready for 2023? So, I asked that question. It was like, do I see some head nods out here, but I would ask the question. It was like, why? Why are you ready for 2023? Do you already have a plan in place? How many pendings do you already have for 2023? Do you have any listing agreements that are going to kick in the first part of November? Is there new home sales that are going to close? What does 2023 look like? Do you have your plan of action? Do you have operation manuals? Do you have a marketing plan? Even do you have a budget? What do you have? Why do you think you're ready? And I would challenge you that we're not ready. And when I say we, that's including me. This is a constant plan. And what I'll tell you now is that we'll fill out this business plan today and over the next few weeks, but it's constantly changing. A business plan isn't something that you're going to laminate once we finish this up today. We're actually going to constantly review it. We're going to constantly change it. And what I love to say is that, we can set goals for ever how many transactions or deals it is per month, that we review those numbers on a monthly and quarterly basis. So in other words, if we say we're going to do, 20 transactions from our sphere of influence and we get through the first quarter and we've done 2, well, we need to go look at those numbers and see, because we're behind, right? But in the same hand, if we've done 10, then we're ahead. So, we look at what we're doing. If we're behind, then we maybe need to go back and either, look at what we're doing. We need to tweak our message. We need to change what we're doing so we can make sure we hit our goals. So I ask you, are you ready? And I think that's a fair question. And I think that most people answer that yes, and then they realize, maybe not. So what does my business look like today? So we actually sent out a sheet that you can kind of look back and look on and figure out what happened in 2022 and even 2021 and 2020. So you have to know where your business is, and you have to know where your business is at. And so, if you look at this year, are you happy with where you are in your business this year? Was 2022 an awesome year? Was it an okay year, or is it not so great? And so, if it wasn't so great, then did you have a plan? So in other words, we did a similar class to this a year ago. A lot of you guys were in that class. It was like, did you complete your business plan? Did you have an accountability partner? Did you have role play partners? Were you part of a team that can help you meet your goals? So in other words, so I put out a sheet. So if you guys can start thinking about this now, is that what was your gross closed income for last year? When you're looking at it, what was your volume? Did you sell $1 million in real estate? Did you sell $10 million in real estate? Did you sell $50 million in real estate? What was your average sales price? And more importantly, what was the lead sources for each one of those transactions? So as you're going down through it, let's say you did 10 transactions last year. Where did those 10 transactions come from? Did they come from your sphere of influence? Did they come from referrals? Are you part of a Zillow or an online lead system that maybe you're paying into? Do you pay for Boomtown or Wailopo or Sierra or one of those? Where did the business come from? And then I guess on the end, do you have a team? And when I say, do you have a team, a lot of people are individuals and they say no. And I would disagree that you all have a team. So even when you're an individual agent, you have a team. You have your mortgage person, you have your title person, you have your home inspector, you have your termite people, you have your painters. All of these people are your team. So I look at that as all encompassing, that all of these people are going to help you with your business. And so, let's utilize everybody to make 2023 a success. So in 2023, and I hope everybody's taking a lot of notes on this. So real quick, I'm committed to how many families do you want to help buy or sell homes? And if you notice there, I didn't say how many transactions did you want to do. I asked how many people you want to help, whether that's people, individuals, families, whatever it might be. But I think sometimes we look at this and we talk real estate terms to the public and we say, hey, we did 22 transactions last year. Well, that doesn't sound all that well. That sounds very, direct. And what I'd rather see somebody say is that, hey, we helped 23 families move last year. Which sounds better at the end of the year. And then what are you committed to? I just threw down a few here, but we can probably go around the room and come up with almost 100 things. Are you committed to having the most reviews in the area? Are you committed to making $100,000 or $50,000 or $200,000 in commissions? Are you committed to paying off your debt? Are you committed to buying an investment property? Are you committed to losing 10, 20, 30 pounds? Are you committed to, eating healthier, committed to exercising? Are you committed to spending more time with your family? And when I say that, it's being present and spending time with your family. We were just talking before the meeting here, and, half of business and half of life is showing up. And showing up is more than just coming to the meeting or coming to the event or going to the concert. It's actually participating. And so, I never could understand why people would spend 4 days to go to the NAR real estate conference or a Tom Ferry event or a Brian Buffini event or one of these events, and you sit in the back row, you don't take any notes, you don't talk to anybody. Once lunch happens, you run out on your own. Versus sitting around there and saying, hey, let's, where are you from? Where are you from? Let's go to lunch. Let's catch up. I love these events. It's, I did the Tom Ferry back in August, and, it's 6 o'clock in the morning and we're meeting with meetups. People, other real estate agents have, reserved rooms in the hotel and in the conference rooms as to where, they're meeting up, and we're talking about anything from geofarms to networking to mindset. And there's agents who have, bought out breweries and things like that and come over for a free drink. And what it is it's a networking event. And they talk about that, hey, it's Big Tall Cowboy is one of them, the guys down in Dallas. And, the guy's like much taller than I am. But you remember all that. But, it's been 2 years in a row that they've done this. And this event went from, I believe, 300 people to over 600 people attended. After one of the conferences, and it's just getting together for an hour, and they do their little 2-minute spiel, but more importantly is everybody gets to know them, and then everybody else gets to know everybody else. Every conference I go to that's a couple-day conference, I have a goal of collecting 100 business cards, making 100 acquaintances. Last year I fell short. In August I only did 82. But when I've come home so far, I've already sent each one of those people a handwritten note, and I've already put them into a database that talks about where they cover. So in other words, if so if Sam or one of the people comes up and says, hey, I need somebody in Detroit, there's a good chance I might know somebody in Detroit already. And I think that we all agree that I would much rather get a referral from somebody that we already know, or from somebody that, that cares about us. That's going to be so much of a better referral versus just a blank name that comes in off the screen, or a phone call that comes in. So what are you committed to? Does anybody want to share? I know we've got a microphone in here. I know some of the people online. Please tell me. I'm going to give my contact information here at the end, but is there anybody that would like to share what they're committed to in 2023? And part of that is that you put it out there, you're becoming intentional, and it's more likely to happen than if you keep it internalized to yourself. So looks like Sam. It's on.
Just the basic thing. It's just expanding on my team, as you said. Just having more people on my team, so we can help the families that is going to grow, whatever we can. I think that would be my commitment.
Yeah.
At the minimum.
Yeah. I think
financially, it's going to come up when you have that.
Yeah, you do the right thing every day. The money comes. It's like don't look at the money side of it. It's like the more people you help, the more money you make. And I would tell you that I think experience shows that, especially in markets like this, is that you're even more appreciated because you're the source of reason, and you're the person that is the knowledge broker, and that's where I'm so excited with when you plan, because how do we get the word out? I try not to watch the news, but of course it's on, right? And I don't care if you watch CNN, Fox, I don't care what political party you're for, but there's so much negativity in the news. And so, why don't we put the news article up and say, all right, this is a national news article, but hey, in Northern Virginia, this is what's happening. And you consistently do that, you're going to become the newsmaker for a lot of folks. So once again, just little ideas that I'm going to challenge you on, how can we make 2023 so much of a better year? So how do you create the action, right? It's like you create a future that's more compelling than the work required. It's aligning vision with behaviors. I think that is such an important statement. And, I see it in my coaching I see it in helping people here, even within our own company, is that, somebody will come in and say, I want to make 50 deals, or I want to do 25 deals, or I want to help 30 families. But then you don't see them for the rest of the year, right? You don't see them at any of the classes. You don't see them in sales meetings. They're not taking advantage of all the education that we offer. And just to plug for Samson, look at everything that we give you to help you succeed. And it's, whether it's KB Core, or it's the buyers and seller guides, and it's our whole Cardinal Nest, and it's our referral network. It's like there is just so much stuff on there that you can do that people just don't take advantage of. So I think aligning the vision and the behaviors is important. And, and even if you want to turn this to being from a personal side, you can't say, I'm going to lose 20 pounds this month and still eat a donut every day. You're not aligning the vision with the behavior. So I think it's critical that when you say you're going to do something, that you need to do it. And a side note to that is that everybody needs a calendar. And if the event's on the calendar, you go. If the event's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist. So you've got to put everything on the calendar. And then two, if you put on there that you're going to go to the gym between 6 and 7 this morning and you didn't go, take it off. Take it off, because the longer you see that stuff on the calendar and you start ignoring it, that means the calendar is not important. And we all know that we can stick to a schedule. If you're going to go to the gym 3 days a week at 6 a.m. and you skip it twice, well, what happens if you got a trip to Aruba on Friday and you got to be at the airport at 6 a.m.? Well, my gut feel is that we're going to be at the airport at 6 a.m., right? Because we value that, and it's critical. So align the behavior with the vision. And then decide on meaningful goals for the future. If you don't want to help 50 families move, don't set a goal for 50 families. If you don't want to lose weight, don't set that. It's like set meaningful goals, and then make sure they're coming from you. Don't let other people create your goals. And that works both ways. Don't I've seen it so many times where somebody will come in and like, I want to help 50 people. Well, you'll never help 50 people. It's your first year in real estate. It's your second year in real estate. Well, why are you letting somebody dictate what your goals are? That's true in real estate, sports, whatever it is. It was like, look at some of our agents who have been in the business for 1 year and they're consistently on the top performing list. Why isn't that you? What have they done? Well, let's go back to the first one. They've aligned their vision and behaviors, and they've set a goal and they're doing it. And then visualize the end result. And I think that's so critical. Sarah Mormon and I have known each other for many, many years. And, everybody talks about the vision board and the dream boards and things. And, I remember Sarah talking about this years ago is that, she did this vision board years ago. And, and she had her, I forget what car it was, but it was like an SUV and it had some other stuff. And, she had all the vision board on it. And then you don't really think a whole lot about it until she's cleaning out her office and behind the file cabinets. That's how long ago it was. We still had file cabinets. So she pulled out behind the file cabinet and then found this. And she's like, oh, look, I've got that. I've got that. I've got that. I've got that. And so, I think there's a lot to be said about the vision board and, and setting goals and keeping everything up. And I know it sounds goofy, but why not have your vision goals set up in your bathroom mirror? Just a little thing. Why don't you have the little card? I can remember days when, people would write a check to themselves for $1 million and they'd carry that check around. And Tim Smith is one of the agents in Newport Beach, and he had nothing. And he wrote a check for $1 million, and now he's like, please, I wouldn't even work for this now. It's like I'm way past that with my team. So I think there's a lot to be said for vision and visualization. So keep that in mind. We could do a vision board class. So we did that last year. So yeah, but guys, it's one of those things too, and I appreciate that because I know we're looking at doing lots of classes, and that's something we can definitely do. But don't wait for other people to set up a class or to do something. So many times I've had cases as to where, well, I can't do a buyer's guide because I need somebody's to copy. I can't go out and do this. It's like, work with what you have and go create it. It's like a vision board. It was like, how hard is this? I'd say go get some magazines. I don't even know if they make magazines anymore, but how we used to cut our pictures out. But if nothing else, go online, print up pictures and whatever that is. And, what I'll tell you is that I did one last year. I'm going to do one again this year. We do it with, I think it's powerful to do with your family, especially if you have young kids. I know when my kids were much younger, I used to love the vision boards with them because, what I thought they wanted and what they really want was two separate things. What you find is that they really don't care if you go to Disney World or wherever. They just want to spend time with dad, or they just want to spend time with the family. And, my family comes up to where, I'm looking back and it's like, hey, some of our favorite memories are just a quick beach trip for the weekend or going to some concert up in Pittsburgh or somewhere. And it was like, it's creating those memories. So get your kids involved and get your partner, your spouse, whoever involved. So I think everybody talks about the 7 goals of, maybe some of you have read Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Equities and some of that. I just put a few of these down. I think there's more to this than there are, but, when you're looking at 2023 and even that, and I keep saying 2023, but when did 2023 start? Yeah, like yesterday, right? So when we're looking at that, this isn't going to be something that starts in January. If you're going to give up a bad habit, we'll start today. I always laugh when people, and then, I think I can't speak for everybody, but I think we've all, hey, we're going to eat healthier. We're going to try to, do whatever. And it's like after Christmas, because, I don't know about you, but Donnie, Sarah, and I, we kind of laugh because we go to all of the potlucks, or we try to go to all the potlucks and the parties. And it was like, after you've been to, 7 in 1 week, you're like, okay, we've eaten a lot of food. So, but let's look at the seven equities here, or 7 goals. It's, health goals. I keep bringing up health, but guys, there's nothing more important than your health. And I need to work on this. I think that, in all honesty, everybody needs to work on this, because if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be able to help others. And I just think it's critical that we do a lot of things to our health that we can control. There's some things that you can't control, but let's keep an eye on that in the back. Relationship goals. I think when you first hear about relationship goals, you think about that it's your marriage or your relationship you're in. I look at this as being a little bit different, and it was probably 7 or 8 years ago where I went down and I basically looked at all of my friends, and this was very hard because when I looked at some of these friends, there's people who I really enjoy spending time with, and there was others that, oh my gosh, I can't wait for dinner to be over. And so you start looking at who your friends are and who you want to spend time with, and there's the adage that your net income is basically the average of the 4 or 5 people that you hang around with. And you look at stuff like that, it's like, not only is it your net worth, but it's also your health, and it's also your religion. There's a lot of stuff there. The people that you hang around with have a lot of the same similar qualities that you do. So, but one thing I did with my relationship goals is that I reconnected with people that I needed to reconnect with, whether it's aunts and uncles and cousins and people that I hadn't talked to in years or maybe never talked to at all, reaching out to them. Maybe it's trying to resolve some situations, which is kind of funny how we drift apart for whatever reason, and then when you come back together and it's bringing it back together. I always think it's sad that we don't see our family unless it's a funeral or a wedding. And it's like, I think we need to celebrate more things, and our family's trying to do more reunions, whether it's, hey, when grandma turned 90 or when she turned 95, and sadly we don't have any more grandmas, but it's like, make sure that you reach out and talk to people. And so what's your contribution goals? It's, Samson Cares, get involved in that. We packed 100 food baskets, and we packed, packs for the military, we packed things for school. We're doing a coat drive now. Me personally, we're involved with the food missions at our church. We packed 400 Thanksgiving boxes on this past Saturday. We'll do it again on December 11th for Christmas, but there's an ongoing way of contributing and giving back. Our church does something called UFOs, it's You Feed Others, and we put together gallon bags. And what this is we do hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of these a month, and we give to the local schools. And what this is it's like the schools can give some of these out for some of the kids that don't have food on the weekends. And it's a way for them to eat because they get food, they get the meal plans and things during the week, but what happens on Saturday, Sunday, and holidays? And these things are just so valuable. And to be looking at, we live in the Washington, D.C. metro area, I think that, everything's awesome and everybody's doing very well. Well, there's a lot of people struggling. So what's your way of giving back? And it doesn't have to be food. It could be anything. It could be, coaching. I think almost everybody in the audience here knows me well enough that I give my time a lot. It was like, I mentor in schools, and I'm big brothers, and you go do stuff, and you're involved, and you do marketing classes in the elementary school. It's like just give back, and it just comes back twofold. Knowledge goals. I love this. It was like, on your way here this morning, what did you listen to? Were you listening? And that doesn't mean you have to be 24/7 on knowledge. There needs to be some downtime. But, me, if I don't have somebody in my car with me and I'm not on the phone, it was like I'm listening to something. Whether it's a podcast on real estate, or it could be Tom Ferry or Tony Robbins or whatever. I'm sure not listening to the news. And even that, it's like, after the beat down on my team yesterday, it's like I'm not listening to sports. So it's like you use your car as that education. What seminars are you going to go to in 2023? Now's the time to plan. So are you going to go to the summit? Are you going to go to NAR? Are you going to go to a Buffini event or a Jared James event? Are you going to go to NAREP events? We got a NAREP coming up here. I believe it's this week. Where Donnie's going to be speaking. So, you can learn stuff at all of these events. So always be learning, always be reading. If you don't like to read, Audible's a great, great, great source. And so I love that. If you're ever looking for book suggestions, just come ask. I've got lots that I like. Fun lifestyle goals. work hard, play hard, right? So what are your goals? What do you want to do? It's like you can't work all the time. And I'll tell you, what happens when you plan a vacation? How many transactions come out of the woodwork? The plane leaves on tomorrow morning at 8, and how many people call you today like, hey, what are you doing this weekend? I'd like to go, I'm going to sell my house. We're finally going to list it. Well, great. We've only been talking about it for the last 3 years, but you're going to list this one weekend. I'm going out of town. So, we've all had that happen. But create it fun, create it lifestyles. Part of what we've done is, I keep bringing up Tom Ferry because I'm very involved in that, but there's a group of us. Some of us are in this company, some aren't. That we're close friends, and it was probably 6 years ago. It was 6 years ago that we decided that, hey, we're going to go to the events first class. And so, we paid the extra money to set first class in the airplane. It was the first time I ever flew first class. You make sure that you're staying in the hotel where the event is, and you're not staying at the room at the end of the hall in the basement. You're staying up in one of the tall rooms that you can look at the view. And it's just little things, but I tell you what, it made that event so much more enjoyable. And because, you work to it. And that didn't mean that we went out and went into debt for this. We actually held contests to, hold ourselves accountable. And it's like, hey, one more transaction and look what we can do next year. So what are some of your fun lifestyle goals that you want to do? And then what's the crazy inspiring goals? It's like everybody's got to have their BHAG or, whatever you want to call that. But, what's that big goal that maybe we want to do? Hey, I want to go buy that fancy car or that fancy watch, or I want to go here, or I want to do that. Whatever it might be, let's set it, and then let everybody know about it. So, good stuff. All right, so let's get a little bit more deeper into the actual business planning. So business planning is more than writing down a few goals on a piece of paper and then looking at it at the end of the year. You need to track everything. So in other words, today, if you make 6 calls to your sphere of influence or your past clients, write it down. I made 6 calls. It took me 12 dials to talk to 3 people. Whatever it is, just keep doing that. How many videos are you doing? More importantly, if I asked you how many appointments you went on this past year, could you answer me? If I ask you how many buyer agreements or tenant agreements or listing agreements you signed, could you tell me that? How about how many open houses you went on? So, we need to track everything. We all know that everything is tracked and measured expands. And so that's true in business and everywhere. As hard as it is to talk about budgets and money, I think that when you start looking at your budget and your money and your profit and loss statement, that now you actually have better control of it. And it's going to be so much better a year from now than it is right now, just because you're looking at it, you're reviewing it, and you have some accountability there. So, and I just said that we overestimate what we can do in a year, or underestimate, but then we overestimate what we can do in 1 year, but we underestimate what we can do in 3 to 5. And then everything we track and measure improves. And then I love this saying, is that if I do what others are not willing to do for the next 3 to 5 years, I can do anything I want for the rest of my life. And let's just think about that a little bit. We all know these top performers, or we know these people in our personal lives that are, to the lack of a better word, maybe we're a little jealous of, or we look up to, or we're a mentor. And everything you're talking about doing today to move into that next level, what happens if you started that 3 years ago? What happens if you started where you're making 10 calls a day and you were committed to doing 1 deal a week for the past 3 years? Where would you be today? So we started this that, the problem may be sitting in our seat. I also tell you that, are you happy with where you are today? Because if you're not happy with where you are right now, looking at your bank account, your transactions, your relationship, your health, whatever it is, what were you doing 30, 60, 90 days ago? Because it's all relative. We all know in real estate you can start working, like crazy today and working your plan, but the chances of you selling and closing a house today are almost non-existent. So start now, create that. I remember sort of digressing just a little bit is that in a previous company, we actually, for a way of giving back, we went to a senior center. And, so I talked, we had a senior center nearby, and I went and talked to them like, hey, we'd like to do some sort of a reach out event. And what could we do? And the guy, surprisingly enough, said, well, if you can either come over and sing, and I'm like, oh, I can't do that, I can't sing, and I would run people away. But he says, if you would do a Monopoly tournament. He said, you guys are real estate, let's do a Monopoly tournament. So I'm like, great, we did. So we went and bought like 6 Monopoly games, a bunch of us went over and we just sat around and played Monopoly. We didn't play Monopoly though, we just talked. And I thought it was such a, it was actually a really cool day, right, to give back, and I felt really good about it. But the director at the end of the day, when I sort of went just to check in with him, and he said, I have to ask, what did you get out of today? Which I thought was a great question. And I said, well, I said, my heart's turned a little bit because what I got out of today was regret. Is that so many times I heard, I wish I would have. I wish I'd have done that, or I wish I would have. And, so here you're looking at, not to seem morbid, but you're looking at people sort of in the later stages of life, wishing they would have done something back how many years ago? Well, right now we're sitting in that place as to where you can do something. And so instead of saying, I wish, why don't you say, I will? I don't know how many people have read the book, The Dash. And for those of you who don't know what it is, it's like on your tombstone, there's a beginning and there's an end and there's a dash. And so how do you live the dash? And so, I didn't mean to turn this into a, heartfelt or turn tears, but it's, sometimes we have to look at that just to sort of wake up. It's like, what's going to be our aha moment? What's going to be our wake up call? Where are we at? So I guess right here, this is where it started. So your commitment, and I'd like you to take just a few minutes just to write down. Is like, are you just interested, or are you committed, or are you obsessed on making 2023 your best year? What is it? It's like, you're going to lay out this 2023 plan, and are you excited about it, or are you just wanting to do it? This is very hard because I see this as being his life too short. I absolutely love real estate. I love working at Samson. I love helping people. I've got a great life right now in my mind. And this morning when the alarm went off at 5:30, did I want to jump up and say, let's go? No, but you know what? I did. But I was also excited about it. I don't regret coming to work. I don't regret about, oh my gosh, I've got to teach a class, or I've got to make calls, or I've got to be on a Zoom meeting. I'm trying to get better and better and better and obsessed at making my goals come true. And so if we set real back, and I'd love some interaction with this, is that if you had to come up with one word for 2023, what would that one word be? In other words, what would your word be? And I'll tell you is that I changed mine halfway through this year. And I think some of you know that I've got a lot going on, so it's a matter of making all of it happen. And for me, my word's intentional. And so, would anybody like to share? Deb, what would your word be? And you can just say it out, I'll repeat it.
It was actually consistency.
Consistency, great, yes, and that's true. Anybody else like to share? Sam, what would your one word be?
Happy life.
Yeah. Yeah, that's 2 words, but okay. That's no. Anybody else? Focus. Yeah, but I think sometimes it's we can make this simple, and when I looked at, are you obsessed with your business plan? A lot of people will look at, if I told you had to make 1,200 calls next year, right now, what would you say? You'd probably say, oh my gosh, that's a lot of calls. Well, if you start breaking that down into how many days you're going to work, it's only a handful of calls a day. So let's break everything down a little bit as to where we can make it manageable. So, we're looking at the big picture, but let's break it all down as to where, you can plan what to do. This morning, you shouldn't have woke up and come into the office and like, what am I going to do today? You should have woke up, come into the office and know, okay, I've got to do this and this and this and this and this. And I'll tell you, the days that I control my mornings, it's like my evenings are so much nicer. The days I don't do what I should do in the morning or I run out of time, I find myself when I am sitting there with my family or whatever, watching a ball game, I've got my computer, I've got my iPad, I'm over there working, I'm sending emails. I'm sure some of you have got emails from me at like midnight, 1 in the morning, 11 o'clock. And it was like, that's kind of crazy, right? Because we should be spending time with family or relaxing or having a little bit of downtime. So I hope everybody's obsessed with 2023. And then accountability. What's the accountability side of this? What additional accountability do you need to ensure your success? Do you need to make a bet with a friend? Hey, if I don't make my goals, I'm going to eat canned food up on stage at one of our sales meetings. Do you need an accountability partner, somebody you check in with once a day or once a week? Do you need an accountability group that you all check and make your own mastermind? What I would tell you is that we can't do this alone. Everybody needs accountability. And I think it's fun that my family became huge accountability fans of mine. And so even to this day, and I don't get to pick my son up at school anymore, but I used to do that a lot. And it was so funny because you'd get in the car and I'd say, hey, how was your day? And he'd give me his 3-word answer, and then he'd usually turn it on me and it's like, hey, how many appointments did you set today, Dad? How many calls did you make? And I used to think that was the funniest thing because he's holding me accountable. So, what's your accountability strategy? And then what's your why? So if you turn into your business plan, and we've got some of these out here. I knew I sent some things out. The people that are actually online at home within the Samson, the Cardinal Nest, if you go to resources, I actually put a copy of our business plan in there that is a PDF fillable version. We had a little trouble getting it uploaded, so it's like the first 3 pages are missing, but all of the nuts and bolts and the meat and everything's in there. But I would tell you that if you turn to the first page, it's the second page in there, and it talks about everything from your why to your vision to your mission. I would really like to spend a few minutes on that. And so we've already started about that from your commitment and that, but I would actually start with the why. Why are you going to do this? If you've got a goal, I don't care if your goal's 10, 20, 30, 50, 100, 500, whatever it is. It doesn't matter what it is. Why do you want to do that? And so what I will tell you is that if you don't get a little choked up or a little emotional about it, it's not your why. Don't put down the why as like, I just want to be a millionaire. I want to have 100,000. It's like, no. It's like, write it down and be very personal with yourselves, guys. Don't worry about what the person next to you thinks, or don't worry about what anybody else thinks. This is all about you. I always think it's funny in this business. This seems to be one of the only businesses where we seem to care more about, what others are doing versus what we're doing ourselves. And so, what is your why? And I'll tell you just from a standpoint from me is that, and keep in mind when I say this, I had a good childhood, but I want to create a life of abundance for my family and my kids. And, I want to be able to help, or to pay for their college. And I want to be able to down the road, it's like if they need, money or I can help them in some ways, or, I can help fund my grandkids. Don't have grandkids yet, but, their college or whatever it might be. It's like, I just want to create that life for them. And part of that is it's not only from a financial standpoint, it's also from just being a family and being a dad. I want to be there. And, 3 years ago, we changed everything around in our family a little bit for the birthdays and the Christmases and all of this. And, we used to, oh my gosh, we used to just open gifts for hours on end, what seemed to be hours on end on Christmas Day. And, and it's just stuff. And it means a lot, and everybody means it. But I found now, especially for birthdays and anniversaries and things, it's the event type gift that makes so much more sense for us. It's like it's taking my wife to a Broadway show, or it's taking my kids to a concert or to a ball game or on a something. I don't really do a trip type thing, but even this and Sam and Deb and them know, it's like I'm taking my son to Texas for a long weekend here in a couple weeks to go see a ball game and go tour stadiums and just spend 3 days just me and him, and I think things like that are going to be so valuable. And it's like I'm looking at 10, 15, 20 years down the road. What do you think he's going to remember? And even me, I'm going to remember that trip. I can't remember what I bought him for Christmas 2 years ago. And so, that's right, Deb. It's the memories and it's the experiences. And so that's my why. And so, if you don't get choked up about your why, I think you've missed the whole point of this whole exercise. Because what I would tell you as your coach, and I'm pretending to be each one of your coaches right now, is that if we go to meet in December and January and February and you're not making your goals and you're not working and you're not doing whatever you should be doing to whatever level it is, I'm going to go back to the why. And it was like, why? It's like, here you are. And I told this story last year, and I know there's new people on here, so I'll tell it again, is that what you see is what you get with me. It's like I'm very coachable. And so years and years and years ago, I was in another coaching program. It was actually Mike Ferry. It was Tom's dad. And so we had our vision board and our dream boards and all of that. And so we had it up, and I had my weekly call, and I didn't make my calls, and I was just having an off week. And the coach is like, okay, great, no worries, let's get back on track. Bam, 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 let's go. And so the next week comes along, and it was the same as the week before. And so, he's like, all right, well, we've got a problem now, because if you're not going to do the work, we can't get what we want. So he says, let's look at your vision board, your dream board. And one of the things I had on there was a Disney cruise line, a picture of the Disney cruise line ship that I wanted to take my family on a Disney cruise. My kids were little. This was something they were excited about. And my coach was like, okay, so rip the Disney cruise ship off your dream board. And then tonight at dinner, bless you, tonight at dinner, tell your kids and your family, it's like, hey, by the way, we're not going on that Disney cruise because Dad's not doing what he should be doing every day. And it was like, and that was kind of my aha moment, right? Because he was going back to my why and my vision. And do you think I did my calls the next week? Do you think I set appointments? I think I probably broke records that week, right? Because sometimes you just need to have that wake-up call. So I would tell you, like, let's do the why. I think that's critical. And when you're doing this, guys, I would make a few notes now and then go back and really look at this and get into a quiet space. You think it's funny, it's like airplanes seem to be my best places to do my business planning, and I think it's just because I'm by myself and you're there and you just write. What's your vision statement? Vision statement's a description of your business in the future, say 3 to 5 years. So when you're writing that, I would say that the vision should be specific, measurable, actionable, and realistic. And everything needs a time frame on it. So the vision is differently than your mission statement. Your mission statement is usually something that you'll put out. Like if you have a team or whatever, it's like you would have a mission, you'd probably put that out. Your vision statement is usually just for you. And I'm going to speed up just a little bit here because I'm looking at the time and I want to make sure that we're cognizant of time. Your mission statement is this articulates the purpose of your business. And I love this because what is your mission statement? And how many people have been in the crowd have had a mission statement? Probably a handful, right? So I think you need that. It was like, it tells more about you. So once again, this goes back to if you're online and somebody looks you up or Googles you or Bings you or whatever it is, what comes up? And everybody should do that. Hit the incognito window and Google your name today and see what comes up. And I think you'd be surprised that we need to put that in your business plan to help all of our profiles and get all of our online presence going in the right direction. Your values. This is it. What value are you doing? Are you going to execute with relentless discipline? Are you going to build and maintain trust? Are you going to deliver value? What is it going to be? So that one page in the business plan has all of this. And I would tell you that it's probably the most important part of the business plan. Because if you can't tell me what your why is and you can't tell me what your values are in your mission plan or your mission, it's like I think we need to step back and really look, because you can set goals for ever how many transactions you want to do next year, but until you have those 5 or 6 questions answered, it's just not going to happen. So the next thing I'm going to bring up, I'm challenging everybody. So how many people have a 5, 10, 15, 20-year plan? So what I'd like to do is I'm going to challenge you each to write out a 10 or 20-year plan. It's very similar to writing out a letter to yourself. So I've done all of these exercises. I'm sure everybody's done these exercises to where it's your birthday, so you write a letter to yourself on your following birthday and talk about what's happened over the year. Back in June, July, August, I had people writing letters to themselves. It's 12/31, it's New Year's Eve. I just came home, we're going to spend the night with family and friends, ringing in the new year. Looking back at 2022 is just an incredible year. We got to do this. I helped this many families move, whatever it might be. I'm so excited about 2023. I've got a plan in place. We've got these trips planned. I've got, pending business, whatever it is. Well, let's go a step further now. Write a 10 or 20-year plan. And it doesn't matter if you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years old. As Deb's raising her hand, because we're probably the oldest two oldest in the room here right now. So if you write that 20-year plan, but write it as of the date 20 years from now or 10 years from now. So Tom would tell you to do 20 years. I'll tell you you can do 10. But what happens if you did a date like it's November 15th or November 14th, 2032? And I'm sitting here. We're sitting here in our house on the beach. We're looking. Can't wait for the kids with the grandkids to come. And yeah, can you believe it? I've got a 32-year-old and a 35-year-old, and we've got 2 grandkids. And but looking back, it's like the real estate career has been really great, and I've been able to help. These are the charities we're working in, and these are the businesses we're working together. Whatever it is, write it out. What do you want? Until you write it down, you don't know what you want. If you just come in here every day and you're like, oh, I'm going to go to work, go to work, go to work. Well, this is so powerful because I have all of my coaching clients write this out, and all of a sudden when they write this grandiose plan out, which is great, all of a sudden then they'll say, I want to open a real estate brokerage. I'm like, whoa, wait a second, that wasn't on your plan. Let's go back. Do we need to add it to your plan or what? And we start talking, half the time it's like, no, we really don't want that. And so it's a lot of thought. And so, what does your plan look like in 10 or 20 years? Hey, we're going to be traveling the world. Hey, we're going to go to different cities and different countries. What are you going to do? And write it down. And then show it to your spouse or your partner and have them add to it or see what it is. And most likely you guys are probably going to be on similar pages, but they might also say, hey, I'd also like to do this or this. Keep adding it in. That's something that can be planned. But until you know that, what's your net worth going to be in 10 years? If you don't write it down, it's probably going to be about what it is today. But if all of a sudden you make it intentional and like, hey, I want to have X amount of dollars in the bank. And I'm careful where that is, because for some people, if you had $50,000 in the bank, that might be huge. If you had $1 million, you might need 2, or sometimes if it's just, hey, my net worth is finally on the positive side. It's like I don't owe the world everything. It's, wouldn't it be nice to get a commission check and be able to break it up and, hey, this goes to investment and this goes to charity and this goes to fund, instead of this goes to this bill and 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 oh, now I got to sell another one. So plan for this. I think we as real estate agents, we always, our financial plan is like, oh, I'll go ahead and buy that new TV. I just need another deal. Oh, we'll buy that car. We just need another deal. Well, by the end of the year, you need 30 deals to break even. So be intentional. Who's going to do the 10, 20-year plan? And then share it. And what I would tell you is send it to me. I brought this up on 2 of our mastermind calls, which everybody should join us on Thursdays. The mastermind calls, and I've had 3 people send me their 5 or 10-year plan. And I think it's incredible, because now I'm like, hey, I've got your plan. What can I do to help you make your plan come true? So love stuff like that. Okay, are we ready? This, like we said, this is a working class. Before we go any further, I do want to make sure I'm sure everybody's got my email, but it's dwerfel, D-W-E-R-F-E-L @samsonproperties.net. So what I would ask you is that for whatever, your 10-year plan, your goals, your business, your vision board, whatever it is, share it. Share it with me. I will definitely take a look. We'll have a conversation. Last year, we had a lot of people come. I think I actually sat down with like 16 or 17 people after the class last year, just to go through stuff. So I love that. But what I want to do is I want to switch gears just a little bit. And if we can go to the, whoops, let's see how. If we can go to the portion of the business plan, right here. So, and what I'm looking at is I'm going to be looking at this page right here. And so if you have it in there or if you don't, but some of the homework that I asked you guys to do was to complete where your transactions came from last year. And this is where we need to spend a lot of time in looking at this, and I can definitely help you on this in the future. We good?
Yeah, can you pull out of your slideshow?
Up. Let's see here. All right. I'm trying, Justin.
Okay.
Let's see here. Are we still in the slideshow?
Yep.
Okay. Quit. There we go. All right, thanks, Justin. All right, so looking at this page here, this is, I think, is it's looking at a snapshot of where we were this year, and it's looking at a snapshot of where we want to go. So some of what we're doing is when we're setting goals, we actually try to set realistic goals for where we're going, correct? So if you're a brand new agent, you come in here and you say, I want to do 100 deals, well, that might not be realistic. But if you've done it as to where, hey, I did 20 last year and I'd like to double that next year, well, then that's something else we can definitely look at. So do you guys have this sheet in your package? Okay. So what I would ask you is that some of you have these numbers already in here. So let's just go through and do some examples of how we can do this, right? So let's work on somebody and saying that, hey, we did 2, I'm going to fill mine in online so you can kind of look at it here. You know, we had 2 sellers and 3 buyers from our sphere of influence. We had 1 listing and 2 buyers from our geographic farm. And we picked up two buyers from open houses, right? And so if we do those numbers, what we've learned down here is that we did 10 transactions, right? So I think it's really important when we look at this of saying, okay, this is how many listings we've done and this is how many buy sites we've done. So that's really critical when we're looking at our goals. And then we look at our sales volume. So in other words, I probably should grab out my, let's see here. Calculator. So let's just use round numbers, right? Let's say that we've got a $500,000 average sales price. So our sales volume would be $1.5 million for the seller side. And then let's see, what would that be? 33.5, correct? For the, Sam, am I doing the math right? So our total sales volume would be $1.5 million and 3.5. And then what was the commission that we earned on that? And so I don't want to get into a commission conversation, but we'll just use 3% for everything. So we've earned $45,000 on that. Okay, and we've earned $105,000 on that. Whoops. And I'll hit save and calculate. All right, so these numbers are very easy to do. In the PDF, I'm not sure if it does the numbers for you, but I can always help you through this. So what I'm asking you to do is come up here and let's figure out where exactly all the business came from that you did this year. And then let's look at the actual numbers. Because what's going to happen is that you're probably going to find that this number here maybe was 30,000. And maybe this number here was 90,000. And then what we can do is we can look down here and we can learn that, hey, you know what? I'm only making 2% on my sellers. Or I'm only making 2.57 on average on the buyers. And now, when you're filling this number in, this is the high number. So in other words, if it's a 3%, I want you to put in whatever comes into Samson, not taking out the 345 or the 495 or, any rebate or anything you gave, I'm going to put that down later as our expense. So once again, why are we doing this? So when you see stuff like that, what does that mean? Because what I would tell you is that I think so many times, and as a sidetrack, there's people within all companies clear across the nation that are selling a ton of real estate. But what's happening is that they'll get a $20,000 commission, and then all of a sudden they're rebating back $15,000, or they're giving back $10,000, which I've never understood why people are doing this. I understand with helping and doing some programs or whatever, but I've never understood as to where you give all of that back, and you'll see, because even at our top producers networks, at NVAR and some of those, you'll see these people are on the $5 and $10 million plan, and if they really went down into it, they probably made less than somebody that just was brand new that did 5 deals. Because after you looked at all of the reduction in commission and all of their expenses and all their advertising and all of that, it's the end. We were talking before the meeting, and I think Deb Gorham was the one that mentioned that it's not what you make, it's what you keep. And I think that's very, very true. And so, I know that rebates are a big thing. I know that there's a lot of situations as to where we, need the help or whatever, and I think that's fine. But, me, I had an airline pilot back last summer that says, hey, I'm going to sell my $1.5 million house and I want to buy a $1 million townhouse. And so you'll give me back like 2% and 1%. He's going all these numbers. And I'm like, all right, well, let me ask you a question. If I do that, every time I fly somewhere, can I call you and fly for free? And he's like, well, no. And I'm like, okay, well, then why are you asking me to work for free? And, sometimes you just got to put it back in the storytelling, and sometimes you just got to stand up for your worth. And I would say sometimes it's better to say no and to move on than to deal with some of this. So once again, just sort of being the coach outside of things. So now that we've got 2022 actuals, let's fill in our 2023. So right there, we see that we've done 5 on Sphere of Influence. Well, let's see. Let's say we sold 5 on Sphere of Influence, but we never did any marketing or whatever. It just kind of happened. Well, what happens if we start calling them and sending them a newsletter or checking them out on social media? So if we have a plan, we should definitely be able to double that, right? All right, so let's do 4 and 6. And now all of these people we sold houses to, we should definitely be able to get some referrals from them, right? So let's just put down 1 and 1. And then what else are we going to do? We can add some different lead sources. So what happens if we start our YouTube channel? We good, Justin? Okay. So if we start our YouTube channel, and then, hey, you know what? I'm going to expect to get at least 2 and 2 back from that. And then, you know what? I'm going all in on KV Core, and I'm going to do some pay-per-click ads. And so, I'm going to get at least, 2 deals from that. And then are we going to do some, geofarming or agent referrals? I told you when you go to these events, it doesn't matter which event you go, you get lots of cards. Well, get some agent referrals.
Dave, what's that?
Pay-per-click. Pay-per-click ads. Yeah, so it's where you run ads on social media so your ad shows up. It's almost like the Boomtown and the Wailopo, where people are paying for it. Yeah, so pay-per-click. And then, so you get your agent referrals back. And then, what else? And so what I encourage you to is that you really should have, if you've been in the business for more than a year, you really should have 3, 4, 5 really good lead sources. And so, is it your past clients? Is it your sphere of influence? Are you going to do a geofarm? Are you going to go all in on video? And so what I would tell you is that this is where you need to sit down and think. Because if you were going to start a geofarm, I would say call me, because I'm going to send you a guide that's like that on how to pick your geofarm, how to make sure that there's enough houses, enough turnover in there, what the volumes are, what everything is before you do it, and then also it's setting up a budget. Because a lot of times when you're brand new to a geofarm, you're going to have to send out a postcard for the, 3 or 4 postcards for the first couple of months, and then you can go down to 3, and then you can go down to 2. Well, I don't know about you, but if your geofarm is 500 people or 1,000 homes, that could be thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And I don't know about you, but I'm not really one to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars if I haven't earned thousands and thousands yet. So why don't we do some of the stuff that doesn't cost as much money? You know, calling your sphere of influence, starting social media, starting that YouTube channel. Guys, I'm going to start it, and this is how you guys can hold me accountable. And Sam knows, because we're going to be working together here some. But it's like starting that YouTube channel and doing that weekly market update, doing that weekly mortgage update, doing why move to Northern Virginia. We're here in Northern Virginia. Hey, why move to Fairfax? Why move to Loudoun? How Loudoun to get its name? Here's 5 restaurants in Loudoun. Whatever it is. And then starting some education videos for clients. You know, why do you need to be approved? You know, here's 10 things to ask your buyer's agent, or here's 10 reasons you need to use a real estate agent for buying a new home. You know, whatever it is, ask these reports, create all of that, and then what do you think happens? You take it from your YouTube channel, you put it on your Google My Business page, you put it on your Instagram and your Facebook and your TikTok and your Snapchat and whatever new comes out next month, but you do it all. And you laugh when somebody says TikTok. There are people making literally millions of dollars in real estate off TikTok, and they're not dancing. You know, I'm not that dancing type. You know, you can see me, but they're just putting it out there, and they're getting a name for themselves. And then what happens? You know, what happens with all of this? You know, I'm coaching a gentleman down in Norfolk that, you know, he's been doing his YouTube channel for 1.5 years, and I'm sitting with him at one of the conferences at lunch, and his phone's ringing, and the call comes through like, hey. This is Dave. I saw your videos online about Norfolk, and we're moving to Norfolk. Can you help me? And it was like, oh my gosh, you know, how easy is that call versus taking an online lead or an online something and trying to convert it, right? People were calling you, and it's just because he's shooting some videos. And he started like this, you know, and now he's got a videographer, and he's got a guy in the Philippines or a young lady in the Philippines that's editing his videos and helping post them all. But you know, just the little things that we can do. And no offense, it doesn't cost anything. You know, most of you guys have been in my business planning. Hey, here's the market update for November 15th. In Fairfax City right now, there's 1,300 homes for sale. 33 sold last week, 75 sold this month. The average sales price is, the average days on market is. And so for a more detailed analysis, or we all know that real estate is very neighborhood specific. So for a more detailed analysis on your own home or your own neighborhood, please give me a call. And you put that up every week. And what happens now when people pull up and they Google or they Bing or whatever, they, you know, looking for a real estate agent in Fairfax, you know, all of a sudden your stuff comes up, well, they start clicking you. It's been the other way too. If I referred somebody to any one of you, what's going to happen to the person on the other end? They're going to Google you. Well, if they Google you and all of a sudden the last post you made was in 1972 and your hair is red and it's gray now, it's like they don't recognize who you are. So let's make sure that everything's updated. So getting back to the business plan though, you can see how we filled in just a few numbers, right? And so I'm gonna hit the save and calculate. And now look, all of a sudden we went from 10 to 22 deals, okay? And then you can also see that now we're closer to 50-50 on our listing to sales ratio. Then we come down, and then let's say, is our average sales price the same or a little different from last year? Well, you know what? It's probably a little bit lower now than it was from 2022, just because the, you know, all of the competition in the heightened market. So let's just say 475 now is our average. Oh, not negative. Okay. And then we come down here and we look at this. So let's try to, you know, let's just say, hey, if our average commission is 2.5 on buyers, and last year you can see over here where our average commission was 2. So even let's just see if we can just rate, well, let me put 2 in first and we'll see what happens. Okay, so we hit it. Now look, we went from 5 million to 10 million. That's good, right? And we went from 120 GCI, gross closed income, GCI, to 237.5. Okay, now look at here. What happens if we were able to get 2.5% for each one of our listings? Look at this number right here. 237.5 goes to 261. So I don't know about you, but I'd love to have an extra, what's an extra 20 grand, right? You know, it's like, I know it's pocket change for some of you guys, but you know, for me, it's a lot of money. So let's look at this. So now, here comes the fun part. What are you going to do to get these 10 deals, right? And so now's when I'm going to make your eyes go a little blurry with the screen, so I apologize. Oh, yeah, let me do this. Is we come down here to our lead source. So each one of these, there's a sample up above, but there's a lead source. So what we would do in here is we would type in SOI and 10. And then what we start doing down here, I don't care how you fill this out. I don't even care if you fill this out. If you start having a separate guide, I just want to know what you're going to do for the year to get those 10 deals. So for me, I've got each one of my buyers listed as an A plus A, B, C, D. So my A pluses get contacted once a month. My A's and B's get contacted every 2 to 3 months. Everybody gets a newsletter. Everybody's going to get an electronic newsletter. I'm not there yet, but I will get there here before 2023. The A pluses get a video and a birthday card on their birthday. The kids get a birthday card from me. If they've got young kids, this is where you've got to have the database and you've got to have a plan. So all of my A pluses, if they've got young kids, they also get a hard birthday card. And I say hard birthday card, it's one that you actually mail. I don't know if you guys know, you put it in the mail in an envelope and you write an address and you put a stamp on it. And they mail it. It's magical. It shows up at your house, sometimes early, sometimes late. But going back to just little things, how can you make such a difference in your clients' lives? My birthday was in March, and I can tell you everybody I got a birthday card from and everybody that sent me a video. I can't tell you if maybe some of you actually wished me happy birthday online, which I appreciate, but I don't remember that. I remember the card I got. I remember, the little Chotsky maybe they sent, or I remember the video. And so, guys, I should show you some of the videos I just did this morning on the way to work, but how simple is this? Let's pretend it's Deb's birthday today. It's like, hey, Deb, hey, it's your birthday. Happy birthday. And how simple is that? Happy birthday. Hey, Deb, I'd sing to you, but I don't want to ruin your day, but I just want to make sure you have a magical day. I'm thinking about you. Have an awesome day. Hope to see you soon. And you send that. And it was like, most people's going to chuckle, right, when you get that. But it was like, how many videos did you send to people for their birthday? How many times have you touched base? So getting back to this, what are you going to do? So what's your marketing plan? Are you going to send out Halloween cards? Are you going to Thanksgiving cards? You're going to do a New Year's card? You're going to do a holiday card? You're going to do a client event? What are you going to do to make them feel special and keep them in tune to you? And how I would look at this is that the Super Bowl I guess it's in January, there's always 2, 3, 4 commercials on there that are real estate driven where they're trying to steal our clients away from us. Hey, we'll get you the best real estate agent for 1%, or hey, they'll do it for $500, or call here. I want my clients to hear that commercial and we got Dave, and go back and get chips. I don't want them, oh wow, let's look. Because, I think we've all gotten upset when somebody's bought a house from somebody else when we're like, well, I sold them their last house. Well, but you haven't talked to them in 10 years. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? And so you can't call them every month and say, who do you know that's looking to buy, sell, rent, or invest in real estate? But what you can do is call and check on them, see how things are going, pull Facebook up, talk about something they've done. And then I come at it from the reasoning of I want to be a resource. So in other words, I want to be the resource that if you need a plumber, mechanic, a lawyer, a good place to take mom on Mother's Day, a restaurant, whatever it is, I want to be that resource. And so I also have a goal of doing 100 referrals per quarter. And so it's a little bit easier when business is good because you've done your home inspector and your lawyer and your cardinal title and your lenders and all of that. So those are all referrals. But I love it now when people call and say, hey, there's a leaky faucet, or I need a plumber, or I need this. And that's 2 or 3 calls, because Sam could call up and say, hey, I need oh my God, my sink's leaking. All right, well, help them shut it off or whatever. And then you get the plumber, then you call back to make sure the appointment got set up. And then if they say the plumber's coming tomorrow morning, well, tomorrow afternoon you call. And hey, just checking in. Everything go well? Yeah, oh, everything's good. All right, well, you just had 3 touches with them. What about a client event? what about some kind of food drive? It's like, even right now, we're doing the coat drive. Why not call all your people and say, hey, our company's doing a coat drive for those in need? And, so I was just calling around just to, number one, to say hi, make sure everybody's well, but also see if you had any coats you might be willing to donate. I'll be more than happy to drop by and pick them up. It's a reason for calling. I think most of you'd have trouble calling and asking somebody for business, or calling and even if you haven't talked to them in 2 or 3 years. Now, what I will tell you is that the people that you haven't talked to in a long time, make sure that you don't have the headphones in, because those people are usually the ones that scream like, oh my God, it's Dave. So make sure you have the phone so you can pull it away. So guys, I challenge you. So the same thing, for each lead source we do this. So in other words, for the Geo Farm, hey, we're gonna do 250 cards. We're gonna do them, mail them on the 1st, 15th, and 20th. That means we gotta create them on this. This is our budget. This is where all the work happens now. Because you can throw a goal down. Hey, I want to sell 50 houses. Okay, great. How are you going to get there? And so what you do is we take all of this and then we work backwards. Now, what I will share with you is that we have tools. I just want to share with some of this stuff. And Justin, can you make that full screen? Thank you. So within Tom Ferry last year, they went through and had people that were experts in certain fields are really thriving in different businesses, whether it was non-owner occupieds or expired or geofarming or whatever. And so I just wanted to show you an example of what I think you should be doing. And personally, I would fill something like this out versus the other part that we were just looking at. But this here is the, this is Shelby. They're really nice people, Shelley. And so what they've done is, let's see if I can make that a little larger. So what you can see here is it talks about the number of homes in her farm, and it talks about the geofarm market share. She knows her numbers, right? And then why she does her geofarm, and here's her approach, the background, how she selected it, and her marketing strategy. So here's what she does: a print newspaper, every month, a postcard with QR code, quarterly proof of production mailer. All of this is down. And so what this is this is everything, right? Here's the tips. Oh, by the way, here's what their postcards look like. Why don't you create this for each one of your lead sources? So what I would tell you is that create all of these for your lead source, for each one of your lead sources in such a way as to when you're going to get so big, you need to hire an assistant or you need to hire this out. And I think it would be really cool that if you came to, if you hired a new assistant and they came in and say, hey, my goal is to do 24 or whatever my number was on there. And part of what I'm doing is that this is what I do for my geofarm. So here's my operations manual for the geofarm. You're responsible for this. And it's all spelled out. So do you think that Shelley's geofarm is successful because she's organized and she's planned it and she changes it? I would say yes. So, look at each one of these things. So here's my goal to you is I've got like 30 of these, right? And so as you share your business plans with me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to share these with you. So these are very much, this is sort of off the cuff, and these are, kind of the stuff that was mainly made for the people in the programs and the coaching and stuff, but I think they're very valuable. And what I would tell you is that if you're going to do a geofarm, take Shelley's picture off, put your picture on, change your neighborhood, and change what you're going to do. And if you're going to do some of the stuff she says she does, keep it. If you're not, take it off. If you're going to do something different, add it. So these are just some great suggestions, I think, for looking at how are you going to succeed. And so wrapping this up, because I think we're coming up on we are, an hour and a half, so right on the money. So as we're looking at this, what have we learned today is that there's a lot of work that goes into business planning. And what I would tell you is that we haven't touched hardly any of it yet. Because, if you look at this, okay, close your eyes for a second, I'll spin ahead here. There's everything from your operations plan, right? It talks about everything from your priority and score. And then I don't know how many people have done a SWOT analysis. So in other words, let's say that you are a sales agent in South Riding, Virginia, which is a realtor in South Riding. It's a big community right here. And so do the SWOT analysis on that. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are the opportunities and what are the threats in the neighborhood? So the threats would be is that there's hundreds of real estate agents that live in there. If you run the numbers, there's some that sell over 20 houses and 20 transactions in there. The opportunities would be is that there's a lot of houses being sold in there. There's a lot of opportunity, right? What's your strengths and what's your weaknesses? And so, if you really go through and you're really honest with yourself, you can do this in each one of your lead categories, is to do a SWOT analysis. And then what I'll talk about next is, nobody likes to talk about it, but it's money. You've got to keep track of your money. You've got to do a profit and loss statement every month. And you've got to look at it quarterly. And you get some accountants to help you, get somebody to help you write this up. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. I brought in $10,000 worth of commissions. I spent this, I spent this, I spent this. These are my dues. This is, my advertising. I bought this ad. Whatever it is, and let's look at the numbers. And I tell you, once you start looking at the numbers, your numbers are going to get better because you're going to be more cognizant before you buy something. You're going to be looking at from a return on investment side of things. It's just going to make it that much better. And you're going to know where your money's coming from. And it's going to help you plan, because all of a sudden, if you've got a budget, you'll know that, hey, I've got an extra $10,000 in there that I can do something with. So maybe I can do that client event for $2,000 now. And it's $10,000, maybe I get 3 or 4 vendors to help. So what is it you're going to do? So I'll close out in just saying thank you. I hope you were all able to get some value out of this today and really find out where we are. And so please send your plan to me. Call me with questions. I would love the help. But if you've got anything out of this, please go through and do your plan. And I think next year when you're sitting here, you're going to be that much further along. So with that, I will end it up. And thank you very much for attending.
Thank you, Dave.
So see you guys.